Just days after the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, the NYPD circulated an intelligence report on alleged killer Luigi Mangione, among other things. Now, the report, obtained by Daniel Bogoslaw and posted by Ken Klippenstein over at his Substack, basically says that anyone who maybe has felt a little sympathy for Mangione or a lack of sympathy for Thompson or even cheered on, this murder is considered an extremist. Oh. So now this intelligence report was produced by the NYPD's Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau on December 9th. In addition to handing it out to law enforcement and counter-terror partners across the country, it was also linked to selective major media outlets. Those outlets, according to Klippenstein, not only refused to permit the public to read the document, but also quoted selectively from it. Interesting. So, what does that mean? Basically, the media's quotes and paraphrases tended to stress the document's focus on Mangione, but not as focused on his many sympathizers. Now, when you actually read it, which I'm going to do, you can see why media kind of left that out. This is titled, remember, this is an official NYPD intelligence report. Writings of alleged perpetrator of United Healthcare CEO shooting reveal grievances against health insurance company, disdain for corporate greed. Based on a review of the handwritten claim of responsibility and social media presence of Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the United Healthcare CEO shooting, the NYPD Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau assesses that the alleged perpetrator was likely driven to violence on the basis of grievances against what he perceives as a parasitic health insurance company and industry as a whole, as well as broader objections to corporate greed and a concern for modern society. He appeared to view the targeted killing of this company's highest ranking representative as a symbolic takedown and a direct challenge to its alleged corruption and power games, asserting in his note he is the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Mangione may have found inspiration in Ted Kaczynski, the violent anti-technology extremist known as the Unabomber, echoing in his note and reflecting in his target a similar mindset of the need for unilateral action to bring attention to abusive corporate actions, based on observed initial online reactions to the shooting, and this is what's key here, including celebrations of the killing of a health insurance executive and encouragement of targeting leaders across industries, there is a risk that a wide range of extremists may view Mangione as a martyr and as an example to follow. Within the 3-page handwritten claim of responsibility on his person, Mangione wrote, "Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming," presumably referring to the UHC CEO and or similar executives. He lamented that the U.S. has the most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet ranks number 42 in life expectancy, noting that the profits of major corporations continue to rise while our life expectancy does not. He declared that these mafioso have gotten too powerful and continue to abuse our country for immense profit. He stated that while many have illuminated this corruption and greed decades ago, the issues persist. In a statement signifying that he likely views himself as a hero of sorts who has finally decided to act upon such injustices, he noted, "Evidently, I'm the first to face it with such brutal honesty." So, yeah, that is the intelligence report. Here's the thing, though. A majority of people agree with the issue that Mangione brings up. Okay? But do not agree that violence is the answer. I'm one of those people. That said, I don't feel sad about what happened to Thompson. Okay? Not going to celebrate it. But, I don't feel bad about it either. His company, under his leadership, are responsible for the deaths of so many people who were denied care because that company refused to pay for that care. Even though you had medical professionals, doctors, nurses, specialists, all said, hey, this is saying that this is what this person needs to live. But still, you would have to sit there and fight for your claim to be accepted. And so, yeah, that's one of the problems. Okay. And I just happen to believe that, yes, killing is wrong. killing someone with a pen happens to be just as final as killing someone with a gun. It's the same result. And yet, in our society, one seems to be acceptable while the other is not. And for that, only under certain circumstances. Okay. But hey, apparently, if you agree with me, you are an extremist and are probably now being watched by the NYPD. Okay. It's ridiculous, right? No, as Klippenstein writes, the idea that angry social media posts amount to the beginnings of a violent insurgency against corporate executives is nonsense. Yeah, yeah. Look, a lot of the people that have talked about this have talked about, hey, this is why this is happening. Okay, this is the problem with the industry, and maybe we need to change it. Okay, because that's not only good for the American people, but also good for the CEOs. Okay. um, Now that said, getting back to Ken and Dan here, um, he pointed to security experts who agree with the assessment that there, there's no threat to these CEOs. Um, Private security intelligence firm Dragonfly, in a recent report, said, quote, "We strongly doubt that further similar attacks are imminent." Dragonfly's clients include the same large corporations that are currently nervous about copycat attacks. Yeah. Uh, Look, the fact is that there are more school shootings in this country than there are CEO shootings. And that's a sad fact, but it is a fact. Um, Getting back to Dragonfly, he says, "We assess that violent attacks on business leaders globally will almost certainly remain extremely rare in coming years. While left and right wing groups have praised the murder, almost all anti corporate activists seem intent on non-violent forms of protest, such as staging demonstrations or verbally confronting executives." Yeah, that's right. Let me repeat that, right? Almost all anti-corporate activists seem intent on non-violent forms of protest. That doesn't sound like violence to me. It doesn't sound extreme to me. But if you listen to the media, mainstream media, you would think that, oh man, everybody who's criticizing our system, oh, they're extremists. They're terrorists. I mean, look, Mangione is being charged with terrorism in a city that has experienced actual terrorism that killed 3,000 people. You're using the same laws to go after this one guy who murdered another guy. Look, if a person can be considered extreme for having a disdain for corporate greed, and what does that say about how the police view the vast majority of Americans who feel that way? Now, Klippenstein writes, "Not only do these reports stoke fear and inflate threats, but the furtive way in which they're circulated shields them from public scrutiny." Yeah. So, remember, they didn't want us to be able to read this. All right. The deal the media makes with their law enforcement sources not to publish documents in full results in big, splashy headlines and pull quotes focusing on the most sensational passages, but devoid of any context. The victims of the distortive narratives aren't just ordinary people, but corporations as well, many of which enjoy privileged access, just like the media, to these government intelligence reports. The NYPD's Intelligence Bureau is just one node in a web of around 70 state level fusion centers surging these kinds of threat reports to companies. Presumably, the companies just think they're being responsible by signing up for the reports. In reality, they're being subtly indoctrinated into the national security state's way of seeing things. When this apparatus of fusion centers emerged in the wake of 9/11, the warnings pertained to Al Qaeda. But as the global war on terror draws down, the supposed bad guy is increasingly the American people. On both the far right and far left, who decides what counts as far, he asks, from MAGA to anti-corporate extremists online. Look, Ken brings up some very interesting points to think about. Who are the extremists now that you don't have these these terror groups, Al Qaeda, ISIS, and all that stuff, for them to worry about. When you are a hammer, everything appears to be a nail, and so that's the fear of empowering the police state that we have. Okay, and again, I will tell you who the corporate elites see as the bad guy: anybody who challenges their power and hegemony. Okay, anyone who points out the injustices in the system that these people profit off of. Okay, and so yes, they're going to use law enforcement, okay, to protect themselves, to protect their power, because law enforcement is there to protect power. They protect business interests. They protect the wealthy. They protect the status quo. And unfortunately, for us, the ones who are most apt to challenging that are the American people, who are being screwed over by these very same companies and have tried for so long to do legitimate change, to do change through Congress. Unfortunately, the avenues for that change have been increasingly closed off by those very same elites who can buy elections now. Elon Musk can buy an election, and you also have Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's firm, being able to buy these elections. You have Miriam Adelson, who can buy these elections, buy these politicians, and ain't none of them concerned about making sure that every American gets access to healthcare. Okay, not just access to health insurance, but actually be able to go to a doctor when they need it and not come out bankrupt, which is our current system. And so they want to keep the system because guess what? A lot of the donors benefit from this system, and the politicians are the ones benefiting from the donors. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.